It is happening, and it's going to continue. As I said, the more the economy declines, you were just, at the break, you mentioned a piece that just came out on CNBC.
Yes.
What was it?
Oh, well,
about housing?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, that's what we're going to get to next, and then I digressed. Its housing market slips into depression territory. And it says, as the economy revs back to life, I thought the recession ended a year and a half ago, with signs of hiring on the horizon, the housing market is being left behind. And it goes on to say, in the past few years, we've been careful to choose the words carefully, not calling it a recession until it fit the technical definition and avoiding any inappropriate use of the D word, depression. And then they go on to say, but now, looking at the numbers, we have to report that this is a depressionary situation, and that's them saying depression with cooked numbers, Gerald.
I know, and let's get a couple of things straight here. Number one, all the money the federal government has put on our shoulders to boost up this phony housing market to begin with. Number two, remember all the tax breaks they gave the people to buy those homes to sucker them into the market, a Ponzi scheme that we paid for. Number three, as you read that propaganda that you just read, as employment numbers rev up, let's get this straight. When they began this stimulus package under Obama, they said they were going to create 4 million jobs. Last year, 1.1 million jobs were created. At that rate, accounting for the new people moving into the system, it would take until 2030 just to get back to levels before the recession began. Number four, Obama said, and his brilliant Larry Summers and others, that with the stimulus program, that in 2010, we'd be looking at an unemployment rate of 7.5%.
Another lie. Stay there. What Gerald Celente was just getting into is so important. It's not just that you're sliding into a depression in the last 2 years, according to every real economic measurement, but that they continue to lie about it and change their stories weekly. We're going to be discussing some of their, quote, predictions that have all proven to be lies. They know they're lying, versus what Gerald Celente, Dr. Paul Craig Roberts, and so many others have documented here on this broadcast. You notice they're pushing back right now, but they're scared. They're trying to intimidate us to shut up because they know that they are not invincible. In fact, they're weak because they've engaged in so many crimes. It's also important to support local station sponsors. It's important to support the people we bring on here, whether it's Ron Paul, Rand Paul, Gerald Celente, you name it. It's important to check out trendsresearch.com and subscribe to that important journal. As we grow the alternative, real Media 2.0, as Gerald puts it. Now, Gerald, you were getting into, so please recap, all their lies. You'd gotten up to point 4. I was reading out of this CNBC report. Housing market slips into depression territory. You've been saying that for 2+ years. Every other economist or trends forecaster we have on. We know real unemployment's above 22%. They're saying it's 9.7. And then they have this Orwellian statement here, as the economy revs back into life with signs of hiring on the horizon, the housing market is being left behind. What are they talking about? Please continue.
Well, first of all, I'd like to say that in what you're saying about supporting the people to keep your show running, as you well know, the folks here wear diamond gusset jeans, and we also have our supplies of efoods.com. And it's very important also to re-look at, if you haven't gotten it yet, the Obama deception and the fall of the Republic. And particularly, give it to your wimpocrat friends who believed in change you could believe in and believed in hope. Because as you have done so brilliantly in those productions, by bringing the people that you did on to outline what was going to happen, It's falling out exactly as predicted. And if you need any more proof of who's running the White House, look who Obama just brought in as his new chief of staff. Another Daley from Chicago. And where did he come from? Oh, he was the chief lobbyist for J.P. Morgan Chase. There's some more change you can believe in. And you look at the other guy who he just brought in to take over the place of the brilliant Larry Summers, Gene Sperling. And what was he famous for? I think it was helping to deregulate the Glass-Steagall Act under the Clinton administration. And isn't he a lot of great change? Because he had the same position under the Clinton administration that he now has with the Obama administration.
And we have the architects of Glass-Steagall and the tens of trillions in derivatives, 1.5 quadrillion total, impossible to pay back. The Dailies are admittedly the kings of the Irish mafia, going back almost 100 years. You've got... I mean, all these other mafias, the Rahm Emanuel Mafia and others running around. I mean, this is so brazen. And when you got cut off by the break, you were bringing up in the last 2-3 years how we were told after the stimulus, after the bailout, it's all going to turn around. And, oh, we never entered a recession, or we left the recession in June of '09. I mean, they literally can't even get their lies straight, and they're in there stealing with both hands, and Obama's out saying, I'm not going to hire some Wall Street insiders, when that's all he's doing.
I know. Again, you know, everyone should get copies of the Obama deception and fall of the Republic and distribute them to everyone that you know, because the facts are there. How they began to lie and continue to lie. So as we go forward here, and, you know, I've been criticized. I want to make this really clear. We never said there would be a stock market crash. In 2010, I said that there would be a global financial crash of some sort. And we're seeing it with the European Monetary Union. Number two, when we made the forecast, we said, we don't know what schemes undreamed of they're going to come out with. Here it is. They shuffled under the table and funneled to their friends, as you well know, over between 13 to 20 trillion dollars in low interest or no interest loans to banks around the world, to hedge funds, to General Electric, to Harley Davidson, to Verizon, to the Bank of Japan, the banks in South Korea, in Ireland, in Spain, in France, in England, in
They sent
Canada.
money to MSNBC. They were funding thousands of companies. The details are still secret. And the truth is, they tell us we never had a recession. It's all lies. We're in a depression for the average person. Every economic number is there. And so what you're dealing with is people that are in a delusion. We see Portugal going under. We see Ireland. We see Greece. Obama deception, shot 2 years ago, right as Obama was being sworn in, released a month after he got in. Webster Tarpley, economist George Humphrey, yourself, all of our guests in there, and my own analysis, with total precision, lay out who they work for, what they were going to do, what countries would go down first. Greece, Ireland, Portugal. Then we said it would spread, and then finally into the rest of Europe and the United States. And now all over the financial news, they admit it's inevitable. And then we predict it absolutely correctly, and then they spin it and say, depression? Recession? What does that mean? All they do is play this mind game. It's all hoaxes. Just like they say Rush Limbaugh made this guy shoot this woman. Turns out he doesn't even listen to Limbaugh. He was a liberal drug addict in love with her. I mean, it's hoax after hoax after hoax, but the good news is nobody's buying it.
And here's some more. I mean, they never stop with this. Look how they're cooking the inflation numbers, so people that need their cost of living increase under COLA aren't getting anything. They're saying that food and fuel shouldn't be into the core inflation index. This is perfect Soviet Union era twisting. Oh, and here's a good one, Alex. Today, the stock market rebounded because the bond sales in Portugal, they were very good. China and Japan are pumping money into Europe to keep this Ponzi scheme afloat. So, yes, it's collapsing. It will collapse. There's no stopping it. And here's the real bad news. It's going to be followed by war. Add it up. You hear the minister, economic minister of Brazil, Manteiga, week after week, month after month, screaming there's a currency war. All of the nations are trying to intervene to keep their currencies from not increasing too much because the United States and China are devaluating theirs, so they can't export. Then you hear from Merkel, the Chancellor of Germany, saying a trade war is beginning. Add them up. Currency wars plus trade wars equal real wars.
Yeah, China's becoming extremely threatening, openly talking about war, test firing missiles now off the coast of Texas and California. And what's insane about this is, as Dr. Roberts described many years ago here and countless other economists, as this starts falling apart, as the dollar plunges, the Chinese, the EU, everybody, the Arabs, they rush in to try to prop it up because they're so invested in it. Then the euro starts going under. They run in, pumping their currencies in there, but then that devalues their currencies. So you have a concerted devaluation. But how do you know the implosion's about to become accelerated and really evident where they have trouble hiding it? That's once people have to pump up the dollar and the euro, they then stop buying as much of it. So they're still trying to prop it up because they're heavily invested from the old days, but they stop buying it. Now they're openly moving away from the dollar, openly moving away from the euro. Where are the Arabs and the Chinese and the Russians and the Brazilians investing in the Chinese currency for the first time ever? It's being traded worldwide. The replacement of the dollar as the world reserve currency has now gone into high gear, and everybody in New York and D.C. running this criminal operation and over in England and the rest of it, they know full well what's happening. All the rich people I know, and people, I know some billionaires and others, I know a lot of other people that know them, they've all left the country. They've got armored redoubts in the middle of nowhere all over the world. They're scared to death. They know what's going on, and they're mad that we're here warning people about what they've done, Gerald.
That's right, but look what's going on. Again, current events form future trends. First of all, with China. We just saw Secretary of Gates over there yesterday warning the Chinese not to underestimate the power of the American military. Let's save it for the kiddies. They're losing over in Afghanistan. They can't win in Iraq. Now they're going into Pakistan. And just for a little bit of history, it was the Chinese that, with the North Koreans, that brought the armistice. The United States and South Korea couldn't defeat them. Just a little bit of history. It was the Chinese supporting the Vietnamese that made the United States withdraw from Vietnam as losers. And now they're going to say that the Chinese are underestimating our military strength as they show off, by no mistake, their new stealth fighter jets. But they now have their new weaponry, these missiles that could take out aircraft carriers and fleets of ships.
Our trains can't even go above 50. The rail lines are so old. China isn't just building 250-mile-an-hour train lines over there. They're now building them in the U.S. They own everything.
Yeah, they're bidding in California. They're bidding in California, and now they're in the process of buying up Europe. What do you think they're bailing out the banks for? They're taking over the industries, one after another. It's the golden rule. Those who have the gold rule.
The banks completely sold us out through pure treachery, and you notice the CFR a decade ago said the next century will be the Chinese century. They geared this whole thing up. Maury Strong and all of them have moved to China. They set us up. They sucked us dry. They blew us away, Gerald.
And look who the guy is, as you just mentioned, the Daley family who just moved in. You know what he was known for under the Clinton administration when he was Commerce Secretary? He was known as the NAFTA czar. He's the guy that was the brains behind pushing it through.
Incredible. Stay there.